So I'm standing here today at what is known for the past 100 years or so as the Groveland ambuscade. And this was a site of a small action during the War of Independence in western New York, near present-day Groveland, New York. Um, by the summer of 1779, the American Revolution was at its midpoint. The French had joined the war, but in upstate New York, the colonists were still feeling a lot of pressure from Iroquois, today known as Haudenosaunee, allies of the British, who were harassing settlements and soldiers in the Mohawk Valley to the eastern side of New York State. So in the summer of 1779, General George Washington assigned two generals by the name of Sullivan and Clinton to take about a third of the Continental Army, which is a significant size force, up into upstate New York to burn a swath of destruction through the Haudenosaunee villages and people who were aiding the British and allying with the British. Now, Washington had a long-standing relationship throughout his entire career with Native Americans from different nations, and this is just one of those parts in that story. After setting out from Tioga, Pennsylvania in late August of 1779, the Battle of Newton occurs in sort of the southern tier of New York State in late August 1779, where some Tories and as well as Butler's Rangers and Joseph Brant and his Seneca, all allied with the British, attempt to surprise Sullivan and Clinton's column. There's a brief fight there. The Indians and their Tory allies are routed out of there, and the campaign continues. It's hard to tell from this history how much is real and how much is hyperbole, but as it's remembered today, Washington's colonials burned villages, crops. This was late September, early fall, so everything would have been in bloom and ready to harvest. And it was really just a genocidal destruction, and really bringing the pain to the Seneca nations in this part of western New York. So by the second week of September, they find themselves sort of in the western end of the Finger Lakes near present Geneseo, New York, and Canisius Lake, and so on. And Sullivan and Clinton have a small party by two junior officers by the name of Boyd and Parker, as well as some the surveying team that kind of strike out ahead with an Oneida guide to kind of look around for this one village that they're looking for called Little Beardstown. Brant and some Seneca and some of Butler's Rangers, who had been tracking Sullivan and Clinton through the entire campaign. This was not a secret mission. It was a large, thousands of men and women as camp followers and cooks and blacksmiths and wagons and cannon and all this moving through the wilderness. Was not a quiet operation that was secret from the local population. So a couple of dozen guys are ambushed here on this hill. Here's a monument that was put up in 1901 to commemorate this battle. And after a brief firefight, about a dozen of the colonials are killed. The rest are, including Boyd and Parker, the officers, are captured and then taken a few miles from here in present-day Cuylerville, New York, where they are ritualistically tortured and put to death. So it's a little corner of national history, a little corner of New York State history, a little part of George Washington's history ended on this little bit of on this little tiny hill in this quiet part of western New York. This entire vision that Washington had of destroying the Haudenosaunee and the Seneca during the American Revolution earned a lot of deserved ill will toward the eventual presidency of the United States. And the name of the president still being referred to this day by an Indian word, a Haudenosaunee word that means burner of villages. So it's again, it's another one of these like really quiet places. It's hard to imagine that this little corner of rural Western New York was sort of a pivotal point in a sort of untaught and unknown part of American history.